to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sarah Menard.
Here.
Dina Kreitler. Jan Brown. Donna Rosh. Casey Benner. Here. Laura Oliver.
Here.
Jack Ketty.
Here.
Tom Hooper.
Here.
And Richard Grimmenberg. Okay, we have a quorum.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. I think in front of you, you have an agenda. And I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And you should have copies of the July 18 minutes from the Tourism Advisory Council meeting. And I think that we all got electronic copies of these too, but it doesn't hurt to take a look at them.
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think we have no citizens to be heard. If we did, we would hear them at this time. So I think you're up, Mrs. Stanley.
Okay. So just to start off with some statistics. First of all, I gave you, these are the highlights that our city treasurer tracks different accounts in tourism. So this goes across a couple of different of our budgets. So you've got tour revenue and expenses. Those are pretty self-explanatory. Those are the revenues that come in from group tours and student tours and the expenses that we pay out associated with those. Printing, postage, and shipping, and then the next two line items are our grant with the state, which is, we call it the co-op grant, and so you've got revenues and expenses there. Our department marketing expense, this is our main marketing budget for tourism marketing. And then you have tourism tax commission revenue and tourism tax commission marketing expenses. And then at the very bottom you have meetings and conferences and travel associated with that. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we stood on the fiscal year through the end of August. 1 month left to go, so we're pretty close on that. I just wanted everyone to see where we stand, and our budget, by the way, did pass through the alderman for both the tourism and welcome center department budget, and later Tom will be talking about tourism tax commission. That was passed too. So next, I want to draw your attention to the graph with all the pretty lines on it. This is where we stand year to date on foot traffic through the Welcome Center. And since our last meeting, it really has been a whirlwind. Of course, August had for us the Jour de Fête. July, as you can see, since we hadn't met since the June numbers were out, July was a very strong month for us. We were up about 250 people in July, and the strongest July in 4 years. Hey there. Strongest July that we had in 4 years. August, of course, we had a very strong Jour de Fête weekend. It was up 10% over Jour de Fête weekend last year. And of course, the eclipse dominated August, dominated my life.
And we had more people this year than previous.
Yes, now we'll have to keep
Yeah.
these
A lot
notes
more
for
people.
7 years from now.
Yeah, the previous eclipse was pretty slim.
So later on, I'll talk a little bit about some of the media coverage from that, but in terms of sheer numbers, on the music festival day on Sunday and then the main eclipse day on Monday, it drew foot traffic of over 1,000 people just through the Welcome Center. And, you know, of course, there are a lot of people who don't go to the Welcome Center and they're here in town somewhere. We had a lot of campers, both in terms of tent campers, primarily up at the fairgrounds. They opened their fairgrounds to additional overnight by tent campers, and RV campers as well. And then at the Jour de Fête grounds, there were RV campers there too. So I feel like we probably could have even sold more RV spaces if we had more to sell. They both kind of, you know, started out, you know, as a first foray into that for both of them. So
What was it, when you say sell, what was the charge?
I'm sorry, what?
You said sell.
What was the fee?
charge? Fee?
So they were generally $40 per site for a site with electric and 25 no electric.
Per night?
Pardon
So they
me?
only did it one night? Or
Most of
they-
them did, yeah. A couple of them did 2 nights. But
So the fee was per night?
that's correct. And all that was done online. You know, we didn't have to, way early in the process, we were mulling over, you know, how are we going to manage this? Are we going to have like an Excel spreadsheet? Are we going to have somebody calling into City Hall and reserving campsites or RV sites? But we used one online events management software, basically automated, that handled the reservations for the eclipse viewing, handled the reservations for parking, handled reservations for RVs and campsites, and everything was, you know, just done seamlessly through there. So that certainly was a boon in terms of the ability to efficiently manage that process, because it just would have been, I can only imagine, nightmarish without it. And people
Oh, yeah.
responded very well
Yeah,
to it.
that's the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So did the fee for buying the shuttle, the pass, all go to the trolley company?
did the fee for buying?
There was a fee for buying the trolley from downtown out and back.
So.
Did all that go
Who
to
got that money? The trolley company?
So we hired the trolley company through the revenues of the eclipse. The individuals riding on it, it was a free service to get people to circulate through
I bought a pass.
the downtown. Then you were buying it as probably as a means to get to your car.
Yeah,
imagine.
I mean,
Yeah.
I parked my car, walked over to the desert, showed Jack my pass. He let me get on the trolley.
Yes.
Did he get the money from you?
Well, I'd already bought it online. I bought 6 of them.
Oh, boy.
So the question was, did that money go to the trolley company, or did it go somewhere else? The ticket money?
In a way, the ticket money went to the trolley company. We paid them their invoice based off those revenues. Yes. But we also provided that as a service to get people who were out at the community center to the
You're saying I
downtown.
didn't have to pay.
Right.
Pretty much so. And there's no refunds. Sorry.
In other words, Martin, you got onto the trolley, you could
I
have
went,
done.
I went to the events thing because I knew I was going to park downtown. And I wanted to have transportation for myself and my family. So I bought tickets for all of us,
For the shuttle pass,
for the
yes.
shuttle pass, and we used them.
But instead of getting on the parking shuttle, you got on the trolley, which is not a problem. But you
Yeah,
could
I
have gotten
don't- I
onto
just-
a
I
yellow
just
bus.
went- I got on whatever Jack put me on.
Yeah, which was fine. That was exactly, that was,
But he,
yeah, so
Enough
we
said.
were interested in moving people, so it didn't matter to us if they got onto a yellow bus or a white transportation bus or a trolley. We were just interested in getting people from where they were to where they needed to be. But the other part of that was we allowed people who were at the viewing festival to come downtown at no charge. They could get on the trolley to come downtown and wait out the traffic, and quite a few of them did. We also had the trolley circulating on Sunday to circulate through the historic district, and because of the music festival. We had a lot of really positive comments about that.
I've heard not heard one negative word,
Yeah.
except I'm now going to say I spent too much for transportation.
Oh, great. So, August 2016, our total count was 2,535. August 2017 was 3,746. That's a whole lot of people through the Welcome Center. So our year-to-date is a positive 14% over last year's year-to-date at this point. So,
I got a comment too that they were that someone who viewed at the community center was very impressed on how well organized everything was up there.
Love
So
to
I
hear
wanted
that.
pass
Thank
along to
you. Thank you
Who said that?
You got it.
very much.
Called your name.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, she's gonna have to sit up there.
here's what you're in.
Yeah, I thought we got some.
Okay, I wanted to touch for a moment on another very busy aspect this summer, and that has been media. We gained a lot of positive exposure before, during, and after the eclipse, of course. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch did a special eclipse inset to the Sunday paper, and our phones were already busy, but they started literally ringing off the hook. I had 2 lines in the front desk, 2 lines at the back, and, you know, people to answer people's questions. There were 4 of us at some times, and we could barely keep up with the number of people coming through the door and calling on the phone. So, I mean, that's a good situation to have, but that Post-Dispatch insert really, it was really a visible before and after demarcation. We had 3 network television stations that were here to cover our event for the eclipse. We posted that on our social media page. We had 2 radio stations that were here for live remotes, as well as the St. Louis NPR station was out at the golf course enjoying the eclipse, and so we got some good coverage from that too. We've received lots of positive feedback about the use of the parking shuttles, and in particular the St. Genevieve trolley circulating downtown and at the viewing event. On other media notes, in addition to a documentary film crew that was here for the eclipse from Amsterdam randomly, we had 2 other film crews here this summer. One for a docu-series about early settlements on the Mississippi River that will be for an episode that will run next summer. And the other one was just this past weekend that was compiling video footage in St. Genevieve's historic sites to become part of a new interactive exhibit at the St. Louis Arch Museum. And so, of course, you know, the new Arch Museum is supposed to come on board by next summer. And this will introduce St. Genevieve in a big way to people who are visiting the Arch in St. Louis and get them to come down here. And one thing that I'm very excited about is that Where magazine, raise your hand if you're familiar with that, when you go to travel to a destination. If you stay in a hotel, you have Wear magazine on the table. Concierges have Wear magazine at their concierge staff. So every city has a Wear magazine. It's part of one publishing company. And St. Genevieve will be featured on the front cover of the October issue of Wear magazine in St. Louis. And this will be distributed all the major hotels and attractions in the St. Louis market. The theme is called Day Trips Worth a Drive, and we'll have a sneak preview, which I can share with you a little bit closer to the date. But we actually brought in a photographer that many of you are on Facebook may have seen his work before. His name's Gary Adams, and he does pretty incredible stuff. He's had stuff at Amelia's shop before, and also, I believe maybe also his work has been featured in other galleries here. But we had him come in and had Jack and Mickey Ketting dressed in their French colonial attire, and thanks to their tirelessness and his creativity on a very hot day, we covered a lot of ground and got a lot of good shots. There were 300 plus pictures taken. I sent 10 of them to the editor, and the one that they picked is really a great shot. It's inside the Trading Post area of the Felix Valley State Historic Site, and it has all the Trading Post, merchandise right behind them, and Jack and Mickey are sort of talking to each other behind the counter there, and she's like trying to talk Jack into buying her a fancy bonnet, and it's just really a great iconic picture and has a lot of personality, and I can't wait to see it in print. We also will have a full-page advertorial in that issue. So this will be good for us. This is something that we're always trying to do, is to get more St. Louis visitors to St. Genevieve and encourage them to consider day trips, and then encourage them to also do overnight trips. So excited about that. And we'll have extra copies of that publication when it's available. New businesses. If you've seen downtown lately, we have several new businesses that have been moving in. Some it's taken them a little bit longer. You've seen in the paper already about the dark room, and he's supposed to be opening soon. Of course, his business model is photography, and he wants to educate people about classic photography, darkroom photography, and just get people excited about film as a medium. And next to that, in the Bovary building, there are two new businesses coming online, one very soon. One is having their soft opening this weekend. It's called Queen Anne's Lace. They have a store in Bonne Terre, and this will be a second location for them. The other one is going to be a coffee shop by the name of Coljack's. They have one of these in Farmington, so this will be a second location for them as well. They're looking at coming on board a little bit later in the fall. And then we have two other new businesses that are going to be coming on in the very near future along Main Street. So pretty soon there won't be a square foot for rent anywhere in downtown, which is pretty exciting. And we want to certainly support those businesses. Downtown Renewal has, and in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce, has for the last several years done the Shop Small Saturday, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, so we'll be doing that again. And in addition, it was mentioned at the Downtown Renewal meeting earlier this week that we might like to try to do another shop visit where all the shop owners get to tour the other shops and see what's out there, because we've got some new things coming on, and even like Belle Ever After, they've opened since the last shop tour was done in the spring. So we might try to do one of those this fall as well. So be watching for that. And it'll be a great way to meet the people. And the Chamber of Commerce will be doing ribbon cuttings for these new businesses, so watch for those announcements. And then I'll go ahead and talk about the opening of the Green Tree Tavern. That will be this Friday at 3 o'clock, and the members of the TAC received this by email, and the TTC members will be receiving a hard copy at the meeting tonight. So this is very exciting for St. Genevieve's, not only our tourism offering, but also our significance as an historic destination. The Green Tree Tavern is the most historic in terms of the age of the building in St. Genevieve, and it has a great history to it. It was, predated the Lewis and Clark and the Louisiana Purchase. It played host to a lot of important meetings, including was the first site of a Masonic lodge west of the Mississippi River. So it's had a long and interesting history, and it's going to be coming alive again soon with interpretation. The State Department of Natural Resources, through the Felix Valley State Historic Site, is going to be bringing it in as part of their history tours and offering. And so that'll be at 3 o'clock on Friday. This Friday, there's a lot going on this week. As Martin pointed out, I think maybe Jan and Sabrina didn't get one of those. Everyone else has this. So if you haven't been to the Felix Valley State Historic Site in the last 7 days, you must go, because they have the works of Bernard Peters on display there. This is one of the more famous artists from the 1930s and 40s art colony, and they have reached out to private collections all over the country to bring his body of work together for this show. This happens about every 3 years, and it's called the Promenade des Arts, and he's the featured artist, and a lot of his subjects that are included in the show are St. Genevieve pastoral scenes, just little old houses on a country lane out in the St. Genevieve area and some of the historic sites downtown. And then it's pretty incredible. If you haven't been there yet, it's free. There's no reason not to go. They cleared out their whole gift shop, and they have 2 rooms of his art on display. This week also kicks off the St. Genevieve Plein Air Art Festival. This is where artists come in. This is a fun thing because you get to see artists and their easels set up throughout downtown, out in wine country. It really lends a lot of character and flair to St. Genevieve to see the artists doing their thing, and then to see them competing for prizes over the weekend. And it gets us, again, good press, good exposure. A lot of people follow the art scene. Speaking of art, this Friday is the 4th Friday Art Walk, sponsored by St. Genevieve Downtown Renewal. So there's just a lot to see and do. It's also homecoming weekend.
It's homecoming at Valley, and then not yet at St. Genevieve. And there's the history conference.
Right, so that, yes, and so on Saturday, the annual history conference sponsored by the Foundation for Restoration of St. Genevieve will be happening all day on Saturday, with a reception on Friday night and a tour on Sunday. The Saturday activities take place at the community center this year. And what's the number of registrations?
77 right now.
Wow. Wow, that's great. So, and around the corner is Rural Heritage Day on October 28th, and the Bolduc has their Bousillage planned for October 21st. So,
It's Spirit Reunion on 28th.
right, Spirit Reunion on the same day as the Rural Heritage Festival. So, those are the highlights. I also wanted to point out that this, which if you get the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, you may have already seen this. This is an insert to not only the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, but all the major newspapers in cities, from Kansas City to Chicago. Something like 450,000 of these are published in the fall, and twice that many in the spring. So it's, what to see and do for your fall and winter vacation planning. we get electronic leads from this, and we respond to those with St. Genevieve information. We had over 2,000 requests for information the week that this came out. So, you know, I mean, that's great. You know, it also just adds to the things that have to be followed up on, for one, but also the number of phone calls and requests for information that we get through the visitor center. So I'll pass this around so people can see what it looks like, but we have two ads in this in a way. They have right here, French Colonial St. Genevieve, founded by the French in the early 1700s. St. Genevieve holds many charms for modern day explorers, and so gives our call to action, which is our website and our phone number. And this is one of the items that we go 50-50 with the Missouri Division of Tourism, and helps us be able to afford this. And then in their online version, there's also a brochure ad. So people could just click on that and get the information. So I'll pass that around, and just know if you have anyone that lives in any of these other major cities, they might have seen this publication come out. So all these look like little articles, but they're actually little ads. And I think that covers it.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of information. Thank you. I will say, I've seen the Bernard Peters exhibit. It is terrific. If you haven't seen it, stop in and take a look. Thank you for having the eclipse in August. What are you going to do next August?
We'll have to come up with something, make up the numbers.
What are you going to plan for next August? From my perspective, I can tell you the eclipse was, from an economic point of view for the shop, it was a huge success. Yeah.
What about other merchants around the table? What was it? What did you experience? Was August good for you? How did the eclipse
Christmas.
compare? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wrote my sales check today, so. I mean, there's pros and
That's kind of the
cons.
downside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very strong.
I had to go home
Very
early
strong.
on the eclipse day because I ran out of ice cream.
Oh,
I
gosh.
tell people that story.
Yeah.
She had all the ice cream she could store and sold it all.
And sold it all. I did.
That was people handing coins as I was making them.
Yes.
Really?
Hammer one handed.
Wow.
Yeah, we probably could have
For about a
sold
day.
500 T-shirts
About a
if
day
we
and
would
a
have had
half.
them in the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knew?
And then we had the tour, the bus tour on Tuesday, and that was a really good,
Good crowd.
whatever that, they can come back anytime. They were there to shop.
That's good.
I'm not sure what other shops they went to, but they were very nice to us.
I'll tell you what, we tried to accommodate every request, and looking back at it now, I know that the tours are good, but I mean, we might almost have to bring in somebody to help out with the tours for those days, because we were stretched so thin. And you know, then a tour is just something that you've got to gear up for, and you've got to, you know, be on point, and you can't act like you're tired. They don't want to know what you did yesterday, you know. So but we had some school tours, we had some adult tours, and you know, it was all mixed in with all the other activities. So I really have to commend my staff at the Welcome Center and all the volunteers that helped with that, because it was a lot of heavy lifting for a lot of people, but really came off well.
Okay. Yes.
I do have one other request.
Okay.
As we talked about the last meeting, after the new fiscal year rolls around, we're going to be updating the brochure. And in the past, there's been a print subcommittee. I think Kelly was on that.
Jan.
And Jan. Maybe was, do you know that? Well, I'm thinking we might need to revive that committee. We've already started working on, you know, some of the updates, but
Kelly,
Who, me? Who knew?
that's what I've got.
I'm sure you are correct.
So if there's anyone else that would like to participate in that, I'd love to have you. Sometimes it means going door to door to help get information, but that's okay. So maybe just email myself or Sarah afterwards if you want to add your name to that list.
And we can check with Jan and see if he's still
He's okay with
that, and we'll check with Kelly and see if she's still okay with that. Yeah, she is, look at that. We saw that nod. Okay, we've just about covered everything on this agenda, I do believe. Upcoming events, I think you mentioned
I
most of those.
touched on those, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other upcoming events
Well,
that
we have the Cookie Crumb Trail on November 11th.
November, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have a
Saturday,
couple of
November.
meetings before that, but that's a big one. Yeah. That's a big one, a money maker, a money fundraiser for downtown renewal.
One of the main purposes of the Tourism Advisory Council is to advise us and you, particularly as it regards the marketing board. So is there going to be, at the subsequent meeting, some presentation of marketing options and decisions that need to be made about where money should or shouldn't be spent?
We can have a subcommittee meeting for that purpose. Are you suggesting that we have a subcommittee for that?
I think it's kind of the role of the Tourism Advisory Council. I don't care how it's accomplished, but
Sure.
what advice are you asking of? How are you getting direction from the council?
Well, I mean, people are pretty free and open to just call me up and give me their ideas and,
As a council?
Would you like something more formal from this body? So like a work session?
Again, I don't have any specific vision of how it should be implemented, but when I wrote the bylaws for the Tourism Advisory Council, my expectation was that the staff would present to them a marketing plan, maybe a multi-year marketing plan, that to which you would subscribe, that then gets reflected in your budget and whatever. I just think the kind of the resource of the Advisory Council and Tax Commission is to help make the decisions about the plan and bring some legitimacy to it, because, you know, it shouldn't be Sandra Cabot and Martin Thomas' plan. It should be the community's plan.
sure.
So, yeah, I think we ought to pay some attention to that.
Well, and I mean, people tend to give me input frequently
But they're
and,
not acting as a council when they do that. They're just acting as individuals
Right.
who call you.
Right.
And this way, there would be something that would appear in the minutes that would,
I think we could create a work session that could then create a format that,
We've done that in the past, I mean, not under your leadership, but when I first got here, that was kind of what was done, and then we
just
kind
keep
of stopped doing
things
it.
updated and pertinent.
sure, we can do that.
And also, like, this is just a suggestion, like, we're on the committee after this one, but a lot of this information is very helpful. Why don't we start having both of these meetings together? So that we know what ideals are, like what he's saying, what's being presented. So we get, you know, all
Sure.
the information.
I think that's a worthwhile idea, but we have to always be conscious of the fact that the Tourism Tax Commission is prescribed by the statute, needs to meet independently, and are the shepherds of the money that
And it
that is
has-
collected.
Exactly.
That's somewhat narrower focus.
Right.
But as we decided a long time, not that long ago, as we decided in the not too distant past, and I think everybody subscribes to the need for the Tourism Tax Commission, the Tourism Advisory Council's marketing program to be together, so we're all going in the same direction and not having.
Well, and absolutely, we can do it as a group. I'm open to that. But it has been my responsibility to
Well, you gotta.
make sure it's all moving in the same
Yeah,
direction.
but you need to propose what you're doing, you know, what your plan is, and
Sure.
seek their input, and have it be meaningful as it directs you in your efforts.
And lighten your burdens. Helping, it's how you lighten your burdens, by helping others arise. You got a great group of people here that are engaged, they know it, and got a lot of great ideas, and so, yeah, I think we're selling ourselves short if we don't capitalize on all that, because it'll make this big, it'll make it a lot better, I think.
Well,
It's
take the
very
outline that you're
important.
working with and let us help flesh it out a little bit. And also, maybe we can lighten the load of some of the things that you're doing, especially if you know that this quarter, this type of thing happens. Because we haven't had communication as to the next advertising campaign that's coming on until it's presented in a meeting like this. You know, if we can participate in that ahead of time, that'll make it, you know, many hands do light work.
Okay. So in order to make this happen, we probably need a date. We need to, I mean, we can't just say, okay, good idea, and next month come back and say, oh, that's a good idea. Hey, let's do that sometime.
So we need to set
Well,
a work session.
It's just, the new budget cycle is always a good time, I think, to start, and that's where we are.
Right. And you know, if nothing else, you could start with your old budget. This is what had been done in the past, and I know we've always gotten those numbers.
Right.
Yeah, but if we had them in some kind of concise format that we could look at it, oh, yeah, good idea, let's spend some money on this and this and this.
Or, I've got option A, option B, and option C.
Right.
Advise me.
We'll find
Should I-
holes that events or times of year that are being a little neglected, that need extra help, or find where we have a lot of events stacked, find creative ways to use more money in those to balance everything.
Yours is probably the busiest calendar.
Yep.
Okay, how about if I email out some dates and people
Right,
can let me
possible
know what might
dates,
work for them?
you know.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Mr. Toma.
Oh, you're welcome.
Send us in the right direction.
It'll get us back on track. I don't know how you let her get her off track. You righted the ship.
Okay, does anyone else have anything to bring to the Tourism Advisory Council? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Any second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
We can be adjourned.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tom Hooper,
Present?
Jack Heading,
Here.
Sabrina Ford. Here. Lawrence Myers.
Here.
Jean Grey.
Here.
And Richard Grimminger. We have a quorum. Megan, did you do the approval of the
Printed
agenda
minutes?
first? Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's okay.
Can you approve the agenda? real quick?
Yeah. Any additional changes to the agenda?
Move the agenda approved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. You have copies of the previous minutes. And this is TAC.
Well, then you got my other ones.
It's okay. So,
They have the right ones.
okay. Thank you.
Here's say Tourism Tax Commission for Tuesday, August 15th. Okay.
Yep.
We were just special up here.
Didn't have the right ones.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Motion to approve.
So moved.
One second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Approved. Financial report.
Did you already hand those out, maybe?
But I'm not going to.
No, we were bad kids up on this end of the table.
We're special again.
There we are. Okay, then that's fine. Okay.
So maybe just to review for the month of August, you can see the expenses that were paid there. We had the first CTM media there, the 220. That was actually probably the July bill. And then the second one would have been the following month. And Madden Media, 3/11/16, that's the search engine marketing. Drury Southwest Signs, that was the renewal on the second billboard. Then you have a revenue item, and then the rack card distribution, 220, and search engine marketing, 196, and then a revenue item and interest. With an ending balance at the end of August of $27,510.95.
Any additions, changes to the financial report? If not, need a motion to approve? And a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
The other part of that is the one that's horizontal, is that what you were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing under old business, and Sandra has brought it to our attention, that the annual renewal for the TCM marketing rack cards is up. We need to commit to them to for distribution for a period of time. We don't at this time need any brochures printed. We still have 6,000 of them in inventory, but we do need to commit to them for approximately 6 months of distribution, and that's we've been paying it month to month for now, and now it needs to be renewed. It's been $220 a month, but it's approximately $1,200 for the next 6 months for distribution.
When you get those 6,000 out of the Welcome Center.
Actually,
Well, actually,
they have them in the warehouse in St.
Yeah,
Louis.
they have those, and they just kind of inform us as they're being used. And we printed some extras. We were hoping to, have more of them, used, but now
Right.
it's nice we don't have the expense of printing them. But we can pay this. And so it'd be 6 months. That would be approximately $12,000 that we need to think about. I think that's something that has been successful, and we should.
No, 1,200.
Yeah, 1,200, I'm sorry, yeah, 1,200. Not 1,200. A big difference, yeah. Any discussion on that?
Well, since I'm a new member,
Can you tell me where they all are? Where are they all
Yes, I
distributed?
can. So think of it like the Interstate 55 corridor. So all the hotels and motels along the Interstate 55 corridor, basically from St. Louis down to about Jackson, Cape Girardeau. And then they also distribute to, under this program, they're distributing to the major attractions in the St. Louis area, and then also to the Kansas City Welcome Center and the St. Louis Welcome Center. So it's, each one of those, they give us like a separate price on those, and then they have people that go out, like for instance at the Microtel, there's one of those brochure racks there where you first walk in the lobby, and it has information on things to do around here, things to do up and down the highway if you're traveling. And so they have people that they pay to go out and keep those brochure rack. The rack actually belongs to them, doesn't it, Sabrina? So it's not like we could walk up and put our St. Genevieve brochures in their rack. It's their distribution company in their rack. And so they have those all the way along Interstate 55. You could pay for a whole lot more, but they kind of break it down by markets, and we try to get the ones that are, you know, within that driving corridor, and as they come into St. Louis, and then the
Yeah, so
Kansas.
Scott Air Force Base too, as well, don't you?
Yes, you're right. Scott Air Force Base is
So
another
how
one.
many do they distribute a quarter?
How many-
Brochures?
What did you say?
How many brochures do you think they get out?
So we must have distributed about 9,000 so far,
Yeah.
because we printed 15.
15,000.
So, yeah.
This year?
Yes.
Yeah, in the last year.
Yeah. So,
When I'm on the road with my girlfriend and we stop at a welcome center, I mean, she's like, makes a beeline to those racks, looking through them to figure out what to do in the area. I think it's very important.
Yeah, we could expand that and do the interstates, the I-70 corridor, but we felt that right now, they're 55, they're on their way here, you know, or going by here, so it's important for us to, you know, at least get that out there for them to see.
Okay, well, I have a question, like, I love the rack card program and everything, I think it's wonderful. The thing is, though, Sandra's bringing all these things to the table or whatever, do we ever get contracts to see, like invoices or anything?
sure. So when you approve like a renewal of a contract, like the billboard renewal,
Yeah.
or a renewal on a CTM contract, the chairperson gives the authority to sign those contracts, and then the invoices are paid because of those
So
contracts.
say
being
I'm
approved.
like the treasurer now, am I gonna see invoices? Because it states right here that I should have access to that.
You're welcome to, but we've never done that. The city treasurer.
I just think that we
takes
all
care
should be on the same page, you
Yeah.
know, and everybody
Yeah,
have
yeah.
all the information that we need.
of it. Sure.
So, yeah, because I remember when we had the initial contract, I contacted CTM and got all the pricing and everything when we did this, and
Right.
and we went over it and decided that 15,000 and that distribution seemed to be.
I mean, just like, not just the price on it, but like how the whole thing works. Like, she
Yeah.
had questions about where they were distributed.
Oh, yeah, we
And-
went over that when we
Yeah.
did the initial program.
But now we have
But we
new
have all these new
members.
members.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, and I think it's 184 separate things, it was the total, because they actually in their program, and I've got it buried somewhere, they list the approximate number of hotels in each of their blocks of things that you option, and there's like 20 different things, and I think we're participating in 3 of them.
And when we did this, we initially got information in case any other attraction or property wanted to take advantage of our discounted printing rate, that they could, you know, so that there would be others listed in there. So it would be not just the St. Genevieve brochure, but maybe ASL Pewter would have a brochure, the Microtel would have a brochure.
And I've got that buried in my file. I actually have the cost. It's approximately what it works out to. They actually have a monthly billing, and for the distribution that we chose, including a certain number of printed pieces, and I don't know the exact numbers. It works out to, with the printing cost and distribution, about $350 a month. But we chose to pay and got a discount by paying for a full year of distribution and the printing of the 15,000 pieces at once.
Is this the first year that we've done this, or is this been?
Since 2007, I did some
They
research.
used to do it every year, and then it kind of fell by the wayside, and then we renewed it starting about a year ago.
Right.
Probably about the time that you first came on.
And it's,
Oh, I
and
remember, and
the cost
I
now,
have some of the old paperwork on it.
Yeah.
But the reason why I was asking that is because we have new members and
Yeah,
they
sure.
don't know.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
And
think
it's
I
approximately
have
half the
actually-
cost that it used to be.
I guarantee you I have it.
Well, printing costs have come down, especially for full color. And I think it's a real economic way of getting into some new people's hands.
But the process, of the accounting process is merged with the city's accounting process so that we can ensure that this organization is in compliance with the federal accounting standards, which are different from private company accounting. So typically, the responsible board will approve a contract. Whatever we do is available for your inspection.
Oh, yeah,
whenever you want to do it.
Well, I encourage you to be well aware of what's going on, all of us, you know, where the money's being spent and everything. There's good accountability, and then everybody's on the same page and agreement,
Right.
you know, so.
But
Well, I didn't
it's also,
know-
it's also budgeted, even though it's, you have the ultimate responsibility, it's budgeted in the city's accounting system. So when a check comes to my desk, I get a computer report as to whether that money that's being spent is being taken from the proper line item, and whether there are funds available in that line item to cover the costs. So there's like triple vetting before it goes out the door.
Right.
Sandra sees it, the treasurer sees it, and I see it.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it was, the reason why I brought that up was because we're here on the committee, and I don't see anything in writing, you know, but it goes to Tom.
Well, I think the board approved the original contract, but the contract
Right. Yeah, this is
was
the just.
presented to this board and approved.
So this is actually a renewal of that contract, and I'm certain that we can get a copy of the new
I
renewal.
think arguably the renewal should be voted on by the board.
Right, but we don't have an actual contract for that amount other than Sandra's report, because most of that today is actually done mostly via email, and oftentimes printed contracts of that nature are not necessarily readily available.
But when you vote on it, I mean, I sent it to Tom, and like for the renewal, I sent it to him, and I said,
Yeah.
it looks like this is coming up for renewal. And so, you know, that's,
Right, and because of the amount for the billboard, I had to actually physically sign off on that one.
Right.
But don't you still think, though, since they all have to vote on it, they should,
Right, they-
obviously should see a copy of it.
That's what my point is.
I agree.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, like if we're voting on something, how to spend the money, I think we should see something in writing or a hard copy.
When is the due date on that renewal?
I feel like she'll let us slide until the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll
We've
have the
had-
actual hard copy of that to present at next meeting then for approval.
If she'd have had it available, I would have brought it, but it wasn't available at that time. Meeting dates don't always work out with.
Right, and
Renewal
which
dates.
dates, right.
Is there anyone, any other old business? This is kind of an old business, new business. Under new business, we have approval of expenditures, and I believe last month we approved 2 months' worth of expenditures. And one of those was the month-to-month renewal of the TCM. And so we're current on that, and we approved a month ahead for this month's payment to Madden Media. So we actually have no expenditures at this time that are due. But we will have both the the long-term renewal for the distribution for CTM and Madden Media at the same time. And do you have any hard copy stuff from Madden Media?
And do you know, members know what like Madden Media and the CCTM is? Do you have any written literature on that?
We'll get that.
CTM,
The CTM is
Yeah.
the distribution, we'll get that.
Okay.
And since we're paid ahead, that gives us time to have hard copies in the contracts for that, for next meeting.
Is Madden Media the organization we have to deal with because it's a condition of the grant?
Yes, was that a question?
That is a
Yeah.
question. Well, I remember that, but I want to make sure.
They administer the state contract for search engine marketing. So technically, the, like the $300.
$11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is matched by $311 from the State Division of Tourism because we go through the Madden Media contract. So if we were just out there doing search engine marketing on our own, we could spend $311, but we wouldn't be spending $622 like we are now. And Madden Media is the organization that the state contracted with to do that across all of the designated marketing organizations. So really, all of our dollars are doubled by participating in that program. And it doesn't count against us on our state co-op grant. It's separate from that.
Do you have a ceiling of how much you can ask for in a year, or is it unlimited?
Yes. Yes. Well, it would be. I mean, we could go up as high as we wanted to.
I mean, if it was through this company, though, I mean, the state, the match.
Yeah, would they keep matching if we spent more?
Right, like if
Yeah.
you spent 500, would they match 500?
Yes, they would.
Okay,
So, yeah, so maybe we want to do more there.
right.
Yeah.
Can you research that for next meeting? Thank you. Yeah, that way maybe get more presence. Any other discussion about expenditures? Any other new business? And I know those who are here, we're here for the last meeting, Sandra's going to work on a workshop date to try to get, to work with developing some advertising and cooperating, work with the TAC, getting some new ideas, and finding out some places to do advertising and the type of advertising that we can work on for the next year. And is there anyone here in this commission that would like to participate in that and be an active part of that? I know I will want to do that. Does anybody else want to? Lawrence?
What exactly?
Like a work session.
We're going to do a work
for
session
marketing.
for marketing and try to,
Absolutely,
bring
I'd be
some
part of
ideas.
that. Absolutely.
Okay. Good. And so I just want to make sure that then if you could just forward the workshop date, but I guess both boards and.
Yeah, I'm going to send out some dates and see what might work for people.
Okay.
I have a phone. I'll share it with you later. Any other business or any other words from our mayor or city manager?
Haven't I said enough?
He said enough for both of us.
Well, just wondering, how much of an uptick are we expecting to get from the eclipse, from the lodging taxes and stuff, from the, we had such an increase in people through the visitor center, but also at lodgings. Do we have any indications of that at this time?
Well, frankly, we only have so many room nights in the community.
Right.
And if they're sold out, I mean, you were sold out, and then you had a group pull out,
Yeah.
and then you ended up being sold out again.
Right.
We referred quite a few people to them.
Right, but just with everybody, it just seems that we should see an uptick in that, and.
Plus, we have another back in circulation.
Mhm.
Main Street.
Right,
Right,
right. So that's what I was going to say. That is going to have the biggest uptick of anything, because that's 7 more rooms.
8 or 9,
Eight.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that will have a big impact.
And are we seeing any appreciable increase that we can use for budgeting for next year and planning of the Airbnb rooms and had revenue from that? you know, because there's some, you know, with those extra ones, do we have extra revenue from that might be coming in, so we can consider, you know, using that money and increasing our advertising presence, you know, along with the other, the GAC here in town. Just, you know.
Tim Meyer told us last night he's going to operate this house on the corner that he's rehabbing in the VRBO or an Airbnb.
Mhm.
I read that.
Good. Yeah, I didn't know, is there any data on those,
Money into it.
just so that we can do for long-range planning. If we know we're gonna get, you know, a 3 or 4% uptick, it might help us in
Right.
in being more creative with our advertising, if we know we had, you know, money to use for that.
And so without isolating any particular taxpayer, maybe we can go and look at, I mean, maybe there's a confidential way to look at what the Airbnbs have begun to contribute, you know, like
Right, maybe this
couple $100
the
a
city
year, I
could
don't know how much it is, but-
Yeah, we're
let us know that there's a little increase.
constrained from releasing any information about tax receipts from a particular business.
Right.
But we could look at the
do
category.
Airbnbs as a group, you
Yeah.
know?
Right, and just because they're a new entity that we haven't
Yeah.
dealt with before. And they could bring a significant amount of revenue, that then we can try to, you know, increase our presence in advertising, and bring more people to town.
Absolutely.
Yeah, any other business before the board? A motion to adjourn?
I think I'd be interested to see that myself.
So moved.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Uh,